Welcome to the Painter Marketing Mastermind podcast, a show created to help painting company owners build a thriving painting business that does well over $1 million in annual revenue. I'm your host, Brandon Pierpont, founder of Painter Marketing Pros and creator of the popular PCA educational series, Learn, Do, Grow, Marketing for Painters. In each episode, I'll be sharing proven tips, strategies, and processes from leading experts in the industry on how they found success in their painting business. We will be interviewing owners of the most successful painting companies in North America and learning from their experiences.
Brandon Pierpont, our lovely Brandon Pierpont's going to MC that.
Thanks, Daniel. Awesome, man. That was great. So guys, take advantage of Daniel's offer. Reach out to Nolan Consulting Group. They're both phenomenal companies. So we have some real killers, some good friends of mine who run highly successful commercial painting companies, some residential and commercial painting companies joining. Dave Scaturo, I don't know if anyone has heard of him before. He's joining here, Alpine Painting and Sandblasting. Matt Kuiper, amazing mustache. You can see that. You can't see the bathing suit, some other stuff going on, but the mustache is good. What's up, Matt? We got Chris Elliott, On It Painting, and Sean Liska of Infinity Painting. So what's up, guys? Thanks for joining.
Hey, Brandon.
What's up? Hey, if you could, this is always a really good panel. I love having you guys on it. I appreciate your time. When you guys are selling anything, just goodness of your heart. Thank you for doing this. If we could just go around, introduce yourself, company name, where you're based, and maybe what services you offer.
I think it'd be more fun if we introduced someone else.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
You know what? Introduce.
So below me on the screen is Chris Elliott. He's from Indianapolis, Indiana. He has a commercial and residential painting business with his wife, Emily. They service a lot of HOA clients and CapEx type projects, and they have an excellent operation. And if you're in the Indianapolis or surrounding areas, that's who you need to be using.
Don't forget my headline there. Read my headline underneath my title.
What does it say? Best looking commercial. Oh, I missed that. It's not.
I didn't even write that. That automatically added to my name when I logged in. It's weird. I will introduce Sean Liska out of Chicago with Infinity Painters. He's handsome. He's young. He's kicking ass, doing over $4 million in commercial sales this year, I believe, and produced about $3 million. Very excited to have him join us. I'm just going to let him answer every single question that's brought my direction. So
Sean was a curveball too. He floated in. I'm excited for Sean. He's the X factor here.
So Sean, you have to announce Dave.
Yeah, it's going to be I don't know Dave super well. I know according to Jesse, he's the most handsome painter. So, Chris, you may have a little bit of competition there.
No.
StreamYard has spoken.
The results are
And a pickleball player, too, FYI.
Now we know you're lying, Dave. I thought you were a man of integrity.
That's funny.
All right.
Appreciate that intro, Sean. Now I have the absolute pleasure of introducing Matt Kuiper. Not only does he have a great mustache, I'm sad to say he has much bigger and better muscles than I have as well. He's an extremely fit, handsome, well-manicured man. He's a man's man. And he also has a great painting company, believe it or not, which I'm sure we're going to hear a little bit more about. They're out of Nashville, Tennessee. They focus on commercial, both repaints and through GCs, and they deal with high-end residential clients as well.
Nailed it.
Well,
Matt, can you intro Dave? I feel like Dave hasn't gotten a real intro here. Sean kind of dropped the ball on us. On that.
I did. I dropped it.
There's only one way to go for you from here, Sean.
For those just joining us who didn't hear Dave's previous presentation on business planning for 2026, they are out of Patterson, New Jersey area, serving a lot of the East Coast. They have 5 divisions, which are commercial, industrial, like wastewater type stuff, flooring, welding, and an in-house sandblasting and finishing shop. Dave is one of the 3 owners, and he runs the commercial painting division.
Nailed it.
I feel like you were like reciting from a test there or something.
He was reading my bio.
Yeah, I had to Google it real quick.
Love it. Guys, for everyone listening, so I want to make sure we're tailoring this to you. That's one of the huge benefits of this. If you're listening, if you can put in residential, if you do basically all residential, or commercial in the chat, if you do all commercial, or both. So really interested to see what kind of mix we have here for the listeners. I know a lot of times we'll have pretty heavy residential and then some lighter commercial, and people who want to maybe move more into commercial. So I think, we could potentially just kick off with that. We're going to cover a whole lot of stuff today. We have an hour, but let's kick off with that. So for people who are listening, who are maybe only residential and they want to move more into commercial, or maybe they're 90+% residential, what advice do you guys have for breaking into commercial?
My advice has always been to start small, start with something that you're comfortable with. I think the misconception with commercial is that it's only large projects, or that it's only complex things. And yeah, it can get there, but there's definitely ways to start that are small. Make sure you don't get in over your skis from day one.
Matt, would you suggest a small approach, also like from a geographical standpoint too, kind of like try to own a puddle instead of go jump into the sea?
Yep.
Yeah,
Good
I would
advice.
say for all those residential guys looking to jump into commercial, have a conversation with your commercial clients about payment terms. There's a lot of GCs out there, or even direct to owners, that'll make you wait. It's not uncommon to wait 60, 90 plus days to get paid. If that's a challenge for you, talk to them about it. Discuss those payment terms up front so you don't get stretched out and cash flow is an issue. Because I've mentioned this many times. You start to miss payroll and you're a sinking ship, and your best people are looking for another job.
I've done the opposite, I guess, of what they said. I jumped feet first and went after big jobs right away. But I guess my recommendation is just have a plan, whether it's payment terms or how you're going to approach the project and timelines and things like that. Just think everything out so that you're prepared.
Cool. So what are you guys seeing in the commercial market right now? We've seen some interesting shifts in the residential. Have you guys seen similar shifts in the commercial? Is it booming? Is it a little bit soft? And what are your projections for 2026?
I'm a little bit maybe biased being in the Nashville market right now, being one of the better markets in the country, just from some great state leadership and local leadership, and being in the Sun Belt. There's a lot of things that are just pushing a tailwind behind me here in Nashville. So I hear complaints and concerns from people in other markets of some softening, obviously interest rates and lending being national issues. But we're pretty comfortable here, knock on wood, in our market right now with not seeing a drastic pullback. I think there's definitely a little more competition. There's been other people that have entered this market because it is hot right now. So that's a concern. But overall, I 2026 is going to be a upward trajectory.
Yeah, I'm with Matt on this one. We look at our backlog as an indication on whether or not next year is going to be good or not, and it's the biggest backlog we've ever had in company history. So that's a real clear indication that 2026 will be a great year for our company. I don't put a lot of weight into things outside of our control, like the economy. Yeah, it's a factor, but can't do anything about it. So, we try and create our own luck by creating relationships with our clients and really doing things that others aren't willing to do to try and earn their business.
I like that. Control the controllables, right? And so you guys are overall bullish, but Dave's going to win no matter what. Doesn't matter. What is the I guess given that these markets are fairly different, related but fairly different, what are the biggest differences you guys see? I think cash flow was one you just mentioned, but between residential and commercial, maybe some differences that surprised you outside of just the cash flow.
I came from the commercial background first, so I had more surprises entering the residential market. So maybe somebody else can talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I was just going to say, this has come up a lot, and it's actually something Sean and I have talked about a lot. The nuance has been was probably one of the biggest surprises. Like with residential, like you can be far more like maybe rigid or regimented in your processes. So like everything looks very similar. Like a lead becomes an estimate becomes sale becomes into production, and it's all very similar. With commercial, it's very different. Like you have, for us, we cover 3 states, so you have geography to take into consideration. You have size, scale, and complexity of the job to take into consideration. And so you can't live in absolutes. You really have to like get very comfortable with the different nuances, and then you have to be very intentional the way you're building your systems and your workflows and your procedures, because there is a lot of nuance in the commercial space. And again, we only do DTO. So another thing that surprised me in a positive way is like we're working with like property managers, facility managers, asset managers. And so the work that we're going after is really kind of funded by a CapEx cycle. And so we may see behavior changes to where like they're doing less, or like they want to see more options, but these are assets that they need to be protected. And it's also like, if you're a multifamily or even like a commercial property, like they need to upkeep these buildings to not only protect the building, but to drive their business and their revenue. And so it tends to be a little bit, residential is predictable in different ways, but there's still predictability in those CapEx cycles.
One thing I'll add to that too is that was a big surprise, I guess, is the time between a proposal being submitted and a job being approved. In residential, everything is very quick, and I think it just emphasizes the importance of follow-ups, as simple as that is. Even if it's been 6 months, it doesn't mean the job's lost, where it may more so in residential.
Yeah, well, and even more than follow-up, like that consistent activity, because it spits out so much further down, and there's far less levers to pull. Like with residential, I can call Brandon, like I need leads, I can turn that on, I can spend the money, I can get leads. That's much harder on the commercial side.
Yeah,
that's an interesting point, Sean. I had never actually thought about that, about the advantage of, if you start with commercial, having to kind of learn to stay in the hunt and the patience there. Because a big thing we've been talking about today is people not doing the follow-up, people quitting early. The homeowner didn't answer the phone. They didn't call them back the next day. Therefore, the lead is dead. For commercial, you have to stay in that game for months, if not longer sometimes. So you take that same vigor and discipline, you apply it to residential, you get a lot more projects.
Plenty of projects, 10 follow-ups, no response, and just keep going. Yeah. And then you sell a job. It's happened multiple times, over a year later, 2 years later.
Look at that.
I've seen that perspective from residential contractors who, after a month or two, are extremely frustrated with their lack of progress with commercial work. It's like, man, you got to grind hard for a year in that world to even say you tried.
Yeah,
you have to find that patient lever and pull it, and that persistence lever and pull that one too, and operate both at the same time.
Yeah, I tell my commercial sales estimators or salesmen 3 years for full return, to be honest. I mean, granted, you can have killers that come in there and grind, but if you really want to create a deep, locked-in relationship, it's 3 years where you start to get that crazy traction, where now you're doing $2+ million every year in sales. Other than that, yeah, to Matt's point, you have to put in the work, put in the time. It's not common that, you knock on the door one time and they're like, yeah, I'll give you all my business. No, it's based on relationships.
Yeah.
Sean, you have redeemed yourself. That was awesome. I'm not inexperienced to panels like this. I've run quite a few, and I have never once thought about it that way, about the fact that the commercial is training your mind for the follow-up, the patience, the discipline that would translate into being just an absolute animal on the residential. That's awesome. Guys, if you have questions, if you're listening, you have questions, drop them in the chat. Daniel's got a pretty big question. We'll put it up here. Daniel, this is a pretty loaded question because we're going to dive into this in a lot of different ways, but might as well just put this thing out. What is the best way to acquire new commercial jobs? So I assume this is, probably someone who's mostly focused on residential breaking in.
Do we want to clarify like whether repaint or new?
Let's break it down for a couple. So everyone's going to want to know different things, right? So we already kind of asked the best way to break into commercial. We talked about having it be, own a puddle rather than drowning in the ocean. So get really niche down. But I guess if you want to come up with, I don't know, like a couple niche scenarios, like, hey, if I want to break into a repaint, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to, like, Dave, you're really good with picking the niche and the vertical. You've talked a lot about that. Or hey, if I want to break into new construction, like, here's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, I'll jump right in. So what we do is we encourage every salesperson to create an ICP, an ideal customer profile, that outlines the market that they're in, right? So markets could be they're a big pharma, they're an HOA, their place of worship, their commercial property manager for warehouse distribution facility. Each one of those is markets. And then we're setting a geographic territory. We're acquiring a list of names that could be great candidates. We grade those. So, the better grades go to the top, and we are smiling and dialing, literally making cold calls, sending emails. If we have cell phones, we're sending text messages. We're dropping in with swag packages. We're showing up at all the events that these people typically will show up at through a trade association. And we're doing that for 3 months relentlessly with a strategy in mind to not be that pest, but we want to be persistent. And they don't come off that target list for 3 months. So we are trying our absolute best to, this is the hunter approach. We're going out and stalking our prey. Yes, there's many other marketing strategies. You want those, you partner with somebody like Brandon, and then he's going to create these SEM campaigns and create the website. And that's the net where you're hoping to grab somebody. But when you first start, you have to be a hunter, and you have to go out and target them and work them. And then once you finally get your foot in the door, it's just, you're asking for an opportunity. You're not asking for the business yet, but you're asking for listen, we're one of the largest painters in the area, or whatever your pitch may be based on your company size. We work with all your competitors. There's no reason why we shouldn't be on your bid list. What is the pre-qual package that I need to fill out to get a seat at the table when you do have an opportunity for me, right? So we're getting really specific into what the ask is and who we're going after.
I would say technically it's no different working for a general contractor. You want to target who your ideal customer profile is, and that's not every general contractor in town. That's probably 5 to 10 GCs, and run the same strategy that Dave just talked about with them. You're just going to get that opportunity to bid. You're going to figure out what the pre-qualification process is, and follow exactly the process Dave talked about.
I like too what Dave said. So he said, he gave the example of, hey, one of the largest painting companies, and that would be their USP, unique selling proposition there. If you're a small company, you have another USP. So every company, any disadvantage you have can also be converted into an advantage. Maybe you're more nimble. Maybe you can start the project right away, and Dave's crews are more tied up with something. Maybe you can offer a little bit more competitive pricing, as long as you don't lose your shirt, because you want to build a portfolio and a reputation. So whatever company you are, there's an edge. You just have to find that edge. Okay, this is a cool question. So Jason asks, biggest challenge for us as we moved into commercial has been competitive pricing. Still seems to be a bit of a guessing game / gut feeling. Any insight here would be welcomed. Pricing.
I would say for me, pricing on the commercial side, for standard projects, I suppose, is a bit more straightforward, especially in working with GCs and just like I said, standard projects. It's if you're at 80 cents a square foot or however many your production rate is, and it's too high, and you feel comfortable moving down, move down. If you don't, you got to find another ideal customer, and maybe it's just not a fit. Like Matt said, every customer isn't a fit for every company.
Yeah, and I think if you stay disciplined to, this is my target, this is who I'm going to pursue. If it's GC and specific GCs, I'm going to go to where they are. I'm going to learn about them. I'm going to learn where I need to be, whether it's a different market vertical or whether it's new construction or repaint, whatever. I think you're going to kind of learn where you need to be pricing. However, I would caution you to I think you need to have integrity with your gross margin standards, especially if the idea is you're getting into it You want to make sure that gross margin is your insurance policy, that you have enough profit in the job to protect the company, but and protect that customer experience, and really be like a lot of the things with residential transfer over to commercial, like direct owner very well, or CapEx very well. That customer service, that high communication, the cleanliness, the organization of the job site, all that stuff transfers over really nicely. And so if you can be very productive in that space, but you got to make sure that you're protecting yourself by having good, profitable jobs, so that should something come up, you can do what you need to do, because you really have to position yourself as a partner and not just a run-of-the-mill painter.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Gross profit or profitability is key, right? That's what's going to keep you alive. And you have to make sure that you're earning at least a certain percentage on every job. I would argue that the best way to get a competitive price is to have a good process. You should be asking what their budget is, or trying to uncover it. Or if they're not willing to give it, you're going to give them a budget and bracket, and you're talking about money, and you're setting that up even before the sales call, right? You're addressing this issue, because what I found is I can go to the same warehouse, right? And it could be $70,000 for one client, and for another client it could be 30% more. It could be $100,000. Why? Their expectation of quality is different. And if I'm assuming things, right? Oh, we're going to just rip out all the caulk joints and put in new. If I'm assuming that, and I put it all in the proposal and I send it over, or I'm assuming they want the best possible coatings, or they want the top level prep, obviously my price is going to be higher. I send over the quote and I get ghosted, right? Because my number's higher. They liked me, but they didn't like my price. They feel bad even calling me back. It's just an uncomfortable scenario. So we have to avoid that completely. We have to talk about number. Look, I can do this job for $70,000. I can do this for $100,000. Where did you want to be at? Get them to communicate. Well, I'd much rather be around the 70 number. All right, well, for 7, we're not doing the joints. We're going to do, a little bit of a lighter prep. So if you see this, to see the difference in profile, that's going to be there when I'm done. Like, you're okay with that? Yeah, I'm okay with it. Okay, great. So if I send you over a price for $70,000, when would you want to get this on the schedule? It's your process. You have to be talking about it. If you're just like I'm just going to send out a bunch of proposals and hope I get something, don't be upset if your close rate's terrible.
Yeah.
I agree with all that. And specifically when working with general contractors, most of the good ones are going to give you feedback, especially if you've got an inkling of a relationship with them. It's like, hey, I bid 5 jobs. Like, are we close? Where have we been? And if they come back and say, hey, you've been double everybody else, look at your bids and adjust your production rates to see how to actually get to that number. And you probably can't do it. So you don't need to be going after those kind of jobs. But if you're, 5 to 10% high every time, run those numbers to see if you can be a little more productive. And if you want to, because it's somebody's going to be lower because they think they can do the job faster. We're all basically paying the same general rate for production. They think they can do it faster, or they're not going to make money. It's one of the two. So you can kind of decide whether that's stuff you want to go after or not by doing that market research.
So I think this is a pretty natural segue into this next question. How do you grade prospects?
One of my favorite ways is to talk to other trades in my area. Flooring guys, drywall guys, plumbers. Who's good to work for? Who are good people? And that's a great place to start. You don't want to work with a bunch of jerks.
More stuff we could take to the residential. People want to do business with people, not nameless entities. So make your company a good brand and personable. Somewhat related, what client, I don't know if you guys have anything to add here. What client profiles are your most profitable and who are the least profitable? I'm assuming it's going to vary by company, but what do you guys think on that?
Yeah, to Dave's point, I think it varies by company. And I think Dave also, not to go backwards here, but I really like that idea of like being able to flex and, through good discovery period and understanding what your parameters are, like how much, what product lines are we willing to go to? How much are we willing to adjust our quality to adapt to this customer and their budget? That's been, that was another question that we touched on, is just like surprises in commercial. That's definitely very present in there and something you need to think about. As far as like what we've seen is like, let's just say multifamily property management, like it really comes down to that same vertical, working with that same target audience, but one company versus another company and how they take care of that property and what their behaviors and decision making looks like, and really adjust the profitability between those different companies.
Yes. So following up on basically profitability and whatnot, price isn't a fixed thing, right? It's not like, it's not like you're at Walmart and the price is the price. You're not going to go try to negotiate with the cashier. So this is a conversation. A lot of this stuff is a negotiation. So how do you guys have any tips for how to effectively navigate those conversations, those pricing discussions?
Similar to what Dave said, it's like educating the customer, I think, and getting out of them what they really want. I think that's critical, and then providing your expert opinion as to what you recommend, and going from there.
Yeah, like any good sales process, it's about asking the questions to discover what their pain points are. If you're out there trying to sell a premium product and you're guaranteeing 10 years, whatever, but they're going to sell the building next year, they don't care what you just told them. You need to ask the question to figure out what their pain point is.
Yeah, I think Matt or somebody touched on this, but like it obviously gets easier. Negotiation gets easier as the relationship gets more familiar. So you can have the budget conversations, and you can get a little bit more candid in what they're trying to accomplish and where they need to be. So I think that definitely that helps with the negotiation, and more familiar in the more experience you get with the customer.
Kind of goes back a little bit to the ideal customer question. We tend to not have good success with a customer that's like, hey, just send me a price. Just send me the price. It's like, no, let's meet. Let's discuss what you need. I may not even be on target for what you need. I'm not just going to send you a price, but a lot of people get stuck in that. It's like, oh, I got an opportunity to price it. I'll send them a price. You're typically not successful with those. So a good customer is one who's going to actually meet with you, discuss the project, talk through the logistics of it.
Yeah, Matt, that's such a good point. That was actually, that concept transformed our company for the better. We used to be the type of company that when a lead came in, we jumped on it. We wanted it. Oh my God, there's a fish on. Let's go. Let's get in the boat as quick as we can. When the reality is 70% of the fish now that are on our hook, we want to just try and get off the line because they're not a fit for us. You're wasting your time. So you have to have a script. You have to have these qualifying questions right out of Jump Street, right over the phone. You're almost trying to get them to not do business with you. They found you somehow, right? Okay, so that's good, right? Maybe they saw you have a good website, you have good marketing. They saw the email that you sent in. That's cool. Now let's ask the questions. Let's find out, are they a fit or not? And you should have at least 10 questions that you're asking them over the phone to say, yes, I'm going to go out and meet with them or not. And there's non-negotiables, right? So for us, and Matt brought this up, if you're not willing to spend your time to meet me on the site, and now this goes for direct to owners like Chris does, to meet me on the site, to talk about the expectations, to spend 30 minutes to walk around the space, identify what substrates we're painting or not, what quality are you looking for, what are the safety hazards that we're going to come, what is your timeline? If you're not willing to do that, I am not willing to take this conversation any further. I'm not going to give you a price, or maybe I'll say, hey, look, based on what I heard you say, it's probably going to be around 50,000. Good luck. If you do want to meet on site, we could take it further. Or if I ask, hey, how many people have you had bid this project so far? And they go, well, you're going to be the sixth person. The conversation stops. What? How many?
Lucky number 6.
You think you want 6 more? Like, I mean,
Yeah. What are you hoping to
you might
learn?
get a lower number. Like, come on, man. We're
Hey, can I ask you a question on that? So with qualifying, like, one, who's doing it? Is it like a coordinator, or is it that's the sales rep? And then where do you find the balance between appropriate qualifying process of a lead or an opportunity and not over qualifying? Can you touch on that?
Yeah. We don't have a coordinator position, so it is for this type of work. That's the salesperson's job because it's so important, like Dave said. And you do kind of have to play the one strike kind of thing. If it's a new client and you're trying to establish that relationship, you can do this once see where it goes by sending a price if they're not the kind of person that's immediately willing to meet with you, but you don't keep repeating that mistake.
Dave, what do you guys do?
I'd be interested to hear what Dave has to say about that process too.
Our salesmen do the qualifications. We don't have like an administrator that just automatically sets up the appointment for that reason, because again, from my experience, 70% of the leads that come in, we turn down, right? They're not a fit for one or more reasons. And we are all about close rate. I want a 40 to 50% close rate. I'm not getting it if I go out on every lead. In fact, I am pushing my team so hard to say no so that they have time to target the right clients, because the right clients for us have repeat business. They want to spend money with more established companies. They don't want to deal with Dan in the van or Chuck in the truck. They want Alpine Painting that has a safety and quality manager. You know, they have very specific requirements that we could meet, right? Maybe they were working with a GC before that could meet all those things, but they were paying a little bit of higher price. They can get me direct. I think I can get better cert. We got to find our sweet spot with our client, and they're not everybody. When, you know, we sandblast and paint pools, for example, right? Primarily water parks, community pools. When Mrs. Jones calls, yes, we can blast and paint her pool, but I turn it down every time, right? I turn it down every time because it's just not worth our time. It's just too much of a hassle. You have to get into a rhythm where you know eventually who's the ideal client and who's not. If it's a one-off and the guy has got like this tiny little warehouse space, it's less than 5,000 square feet, it's over 30 minutes away, I'm turning you down. I'm gonna give you 10 minutes on the phone. I'm gonna tell you, you know, you're probably in the $10,000 to $15,000 range. I'm even gonna recommend other contractors because of our relationships in PCA that I can recommend. So they're not dead-ended, but I'm not spending my time on that lead.
Sorry, Brandon, I'm taking over.
You're good, dude. Chris really, Chris, you've taken us. You assume the moderator spot. I'm going to show myself.
Well, we have an hour. I'm going to take 3. So Dave, so this is something we've been talking a lot about. So we understand. Let's say our ideal customer is a multifamily property management company.
Yeah,
and it's specifically a regional manager. So because it's a regional manager, we then have to. What we should likely offer regional coverage, because that's going to make us the best partner possible for them. So we're targeting regional property management. Let's say I'm in Indianapolis. We create an opportunity. A $2,000 opportunity in Columbus, Ohio, that's 2.5, 3 hours away may not make sense, but there are situations where it does make sense. And so this is where I'm kind of going through that qualification. So if it's a small flex space and we get a call, like, I'm going to call somebody in Columbus and just hand that off. But if it's a regional property manager who has a small job and they want to test us, and then on the backside of that could be $1 million of annual revenue, then we want to do that job. So what's that look like in your company? And go ahead.
Yeah, you're calling that out, right? So let's just say, to your point, it's a new client. You've been really trying to work your way in. You've recognized they meet your ICP. They're a perfect target for you. You do the small jobs, right? You overextend, but you're communicating to them, listen, I would typically turn this project down if it was anybody else, but for you, I'm going to do it. Why? Because I want to earn your business. I want to earn your good graces. This is our sweet spot. I'll go out for our best client, like I know you're going to be, and handle these small projects that are far away. But I'm really banking on the fact that you're going to give me the opportunity in this geographic location with these typical services on your types of properties. Is that something you could work with me on in the future? So we're talking about that, right? Same concept as, okay, now they are a company. They're a good client, right? Good client. You work with them. You typically get the, say, 50,000 plus jobs with them. And normally you tell your salesman if there's a 5,000 below job, you're passing on it. But if it's for a good client, hell yeah, you're doing it. I think Jim McBriar during our panel conversation in San Diego says, you're keeping the fleas off your dog, right? So your client is your dog. It's a weird analogy. It's from the South. You're keeping other contractors from connecting with your clients. So yeah, you're taking everything from them, trying to increase the market share. But you wouldn't necessarily do that if it was not the right fit.
Yeah. Awesome. Last one, Brandon, you can have it back. I want to piggyback to Sean. So like for Dave, you're teaching your team this. Like you're teaching your team, like, how do I distinguish when I do a $2,000 job that's 2 hours away and when I don't? Sean, I'm assuming you're going through all the qualification process right now. You're handling all the leads and opportunities that are coming into your company. How are you doing that qualification? And then what's your plan as you grow and scale to hand that off and train that to someone else?
Right now I take kind of like Matt's approach, where I'll bid one thing as long as it's a service offering, we can do, regionally works. And it's not a tire kicker. I'll bid one job and I'll meet with them. I wouldn't be very inclined to do a quote if I can't at least meet with the customer on site. Unless it is a regional person that isn't on site and can't make it or something like that, a one-off. But that's kind of my plan. I'm willing to get my foot in the door with someone to have the conversation, meet them on site, to learn more about them, and go from there. That's how I would plan on doing it, but I may learn and change.
So I'm gonna put something out there. I'm interested to get your guys' thoughts on this. So one of the issues that I see with a lot of painting companies is they want to overly pre-qualify, and I think it's almost a little bit of a lazy tactic. And I think it's possible to take the information being given here and then pull it out of context. So when Dave Scaturo is saying that, he says no to 70% of his leads. He's been doing this for 50 years. And so Dave or Chris, I know you guys talk about how you need to basically just be willing to eat SHIT for a year, right? So I think so many people, they kind of put their foot in, and commercial, it's like business owners in general, right? You want to start a company. I tried for a month, boohoo, like it didn't go that well. They want to kind of dip their feet in a commercial, which is essentially a brand new business. And they want to start either disqualifying everybody or they don't want to follow up or whatever it is. How do you guys kind of handle that? Like, hey, you need to go in and you need to get your reps and you need to actually identify where you can win and then start to kind of whittle down versus, hey, you also don't want to get taken advantage of. Obviously, number one rule of business is don't go out of business. So you don't want to bid yourself, right into bankruptcy. But how do you guys rectify that for somebody? Because I don't want to mislead people here, and they start commercial and they say, well, I'm going to say no to 70%. Well, maybe you need to say yes to a lot more until you know what you're doing. How do you guys rectify that?
I think, to not take Dave out of context, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Dave, is you're saying no because they don't fit your profile of your customer. It's not because you do that kind of work, like you were talking about the homeowner with the pool, but your strategy as a business, same as ours, is repeat customers. Does this client have more than one building? If they do, that's who we want. So he's saying no. It would be like if somebody called me for a large epoxy flooring job. We do some epoxy floors. It's kind of something we dabble around with, but I'm going to say, that's probably not ideal for us right now because it's not our kind of project or our kind of client. So you're saying no to stuff that doesn't fit.
And Dave's had the time, exposure, and experience to determine who he can say no to. So I think as you're getting it's like if you were starting your career, it's like, go experiment, go like try something and fail. Do I love this? Am I good at it? So yes, I should do more of it. Or this feels awful. I'm against the current. This feels like more work than it should be. So you don't want to do that, right? And so there's a level, there's a bit of experimenting that has to happen. before you can determine this is my ideal customer, and I got to say no to I'm going to say no to most of everything else so that I can better serve this customer. But there's some experimenting that has to happen. And I think what we're saying is like start that close and start that in a be very mindful and intentional in that, and so that you don't get yourself in trouble while you're doing that experimenting.
That's true. Yeah.
And also, I think a lot of it comes down to time. Whether you have no reps, 10 reps, 15 reps, you have a limited amount of time. So if you have a bunch of leads and you don't have time to service them all, then you overqualify them. If you have plenty of time, then you can go out on every site.
I think that's also such a good point. Why to niche down? You only have so much. Like we have finite amount of resources. We only have so much time, so much money, so much energy. If I just like buckshot approach, I'm going to burn through those resources very quickly. So if I can take more of a sniper laser approach, then I can be far more targeted in the way that I'm using my resources, so I don't burn through them.
Love that.
Well said.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. So this is a good question. Preston is asking if you guys have some good pre-qualification questions.
Yeah, for me, I'll just go over them. Everyone's going to have different ones. Number one, it's like, when are you looking to do this work? Like I always know roughly what my schedule is. So I know when my manpower is available. If they're like, yeah, I need to start next week, and I know I'm 3 weeks out, that's a deal breaker, right? So I can't help you out. I'm sorry. Is this a union or non-union project? For us, if it's a union project, I'm not a fit. We're a merit shop, so that's not going to work for us. Are they an out-of-state GC? If you're an out-of-state GC, I'm probably not bidding for you. You got to warm me up real hard in order for me to get my way in with you. If it's a very small project that's out of our service area, if it's not a market that we service or not a service that we provide or a residential property, right? All these things are deal breakers. To my earlier point, how many is price a motivating factor for you? Yeah. Price is the most important. The cheapest price is going to get this job. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm not a good fit for you. Here's somebody else that you might want to call. They typically have lower numbers than me. Those are a couple, but there's so many, and they should be specific to your business, to your market, and they should make sense to you. Go and chat, ask chat, put in information about your company, who's your ideal client, blah, blah, blah. And then say, what are some qualifying questions I should be asking? Might get you started.
Yeah. And taking a trick from the residential side. I know a lot of salespeople will ask the question like, hey, have you hired a professional service company for your home before? How did that go? A lot of these clients are professional buyers. They are working with trades companies every day. So you spin that question of, hey, I'm sure you work with some other great trade, your roofer. What are some things that you like about your current roofer? And then they start talking about what's important to them. So some of the better follow-up questions to ask.
Matt, you're slick, man.
Once in a while.
You're slick. I like it. So we're talking a lot about negotiation, how to handle that discussion, how to know what projects you want to pursue and don't want to pursue. Let's talk about lead generation for a second. So for marketing channels for you guys for generating these new leads, which ones are working best for you right now? And has that mix kind of changed over the last year?
Google search engine stuff has still been number one for true like cold lead generation. Obviously the best is still boots on the ground, pick up the phone, send the email. Like that's number one. But as far as kind of traditional marketing, Google and SEO has been key for us.
We try to take it, this is something that we've grown involved into, but we try to take a pretty balanced approach. So we have cold outreach happening. We have some marketing happening to pay-per-click. We have business development happening. We have brand awareness efforts happening, association participation. So we're going to where our ideal customer is We're staying very involved. We typically come in at a high sponsorship to help build the brand awareness, and then we're staying active. We have a goal in our company of 100% participation. So if we're a part of an association and they have an event, we're there, and so that's where our opportunity to create relationships and then nurture those relationships. So we try to be very balanced between outreach, marketing, advertising, brand awareness, and prospecting, business development effort. Also, again, why it's like good to have a target, because you try to do that for too many targets, you get lost in it real quick.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Bill asked, I've heard that we should stay away from new construction. What are the pitfalls of new construction?
Yeah, it depends on your business structure. I'm not a big new construction fan, and Matt loves it, right? So we got two guys that are both successful, different business models, and it's really working well for Matt. And in the past, we decided to kind of get out of that market. We're not really targeting it. We have a couple GCs that we work with. We have good relationships with them, but I'm not targeting new ones necessarily. And that's on the commercial space. Like, for example, in the industrial arena, I deal mostly with GCs. So I think it depends on a lot of factors, what your ideal market is, who you think you can provide best value to, in turn get the highest profit. That may be through GCs, right? Because there's reoccurring revenue streams. You may have a great GC in your area that's constantly building stuff. Your market might be, a lot of new stuff coming up, and you should be working with GCs, where in other markets, it's really slow. There's not a lot of new builds, and maybe that's not the ideal market. So I think it depends. I think the challenge with GCs, and I'll just lay this out there right now, is they have the leverage, right? So they have the leverage. You're signing their contract. If shit goes sideways, they got you by the balls. And depending on what you signed, you could be in a really bad position. I've had close friends that had to close their business because they said that you're not going to meet the schedule, even though the schedule is pushed back based on the GC. And I now need to bring in additional labor to try and hit that schedule. And I don't care how much it costs, because you're paying the bill, right? It's coming out of how much I pay you. And then before you know it, it's like, oh my God, I just lost a ton of money on this project. That could be the opposite. You could make a killing because the guy is like, hey, look, we got a change order on this, and he's working with me no matter what. So we're going to put in a high number because I'm just getting a percentage of yours, and I don't really care how much you charge. Go for it. And you can make some money back, because I know I tightened you up early on that. And you can end up doing really well on the job. So it's dependent on your company, your strategy, the partner, a lot of factors.
I'd say probably the number one pitfall to watch out for is it can be a scheduling nightmare if you're not a good focused scheduling company and have flexibility. Because like Dave said, they're running their show. You're just a little part of it. So if they say, hey, you guys need to be out here in 2 weeks, and you get your crew lined up to be there in 2 weeks, and then a day before you're supposed to be out there, they call and say, oh no, the drywall guys are behind. It's going to be another 2 weeks. You have to be able to then adjust quickly. And if you're not ready for that, it can be a pitfall.
Matt, you said something in your presentation at the PCA that I thought was very good about scheduling with GCs. It's like, yeah, scheduling's hard. Get over it and figure it out, or don't do the work with it. So I think that was going to be my point, is scheduling is why I personally don't work with GCs. But yeah, everyone has their own avenue.
We just have a different mindset in our company, that we're a scheduling company that happens to paint. And we just believe that from day one. So it's not hard for us, because that's just what we decided we were going to be. But if we were primarily a craft-based painting company and we weren't willing to be flexible with our schedule, it pissed me off every day.
Yeah. What problem do you love to solve? Because it's a slightly different game, right? Like if you're going to be new construction, you better be good at contracts. You better be good at have access to some capital, and it's just it's a bit of a different game. So
yeah,
better have a good attorney.
Yeah, I actually just had lunch with my attorney yesterday just to review new contracts with general contractors for 2026. Just, hey, what do we want to red line? What's worth fighting for? What's fine just signing? And we do that 2 or 3 times a year. We're just making sure our T's are crossed and our I's are dotted when it comes to all this construction language. And you got to have a good attorney on your side.
So you're smart enough to read those contracts. That's why I stay at the DTO side.
I don't read them. I hire somebody that reads them.
There you go.
So this is always a fun question. So things go wrong. We had poor Henry earlier today, talked about losing $33,000 due to an insurance snafu. What has been your biggest commercial project nightmare, and how did you handle it? You stay in business long enough, you're definitely going to get punched in the face.
Yeah, I think I touched on it a little bit in my presentation. That big food processing facility that we did up in Ohio that Chris has been to. And I think the challenge was it was right in the middle of me being out with cancer. And that was a very complicated project. My team was not necessarily experienced enough to handle it fully on their own at that time. And we performed really well from a production standpoint, but not from an efficiency standpoint, and ended up taking a pretty big loss on that job. It was maintain the relationship, but took a pretty big financial hit. Still hurts.
Just cancer, Matt.
Yeah.
You know, I thought you were this tough guy, and then cancer comes along and it affects you. No, it's not probably a joking matter. Okay. Moving on.
I want to hear somebody else's terrible story. Don't.
Who else has a terrible story? Chris, I know you've been rocked. Sean and Dave, there's no way you're too pretty to not have had someone come after you.
I could give you 100 residential stories that I have PTSD over, more so than when I went to combat. But commercial, like we've been very very careful to not grow it too quickly. Like our target customers are those regional property managers. We see them at these events. We get repeat business from them over and over. We got to be very, very careful not to poison that well so we can keep going back to it. So we have bid our jobs very profitable. We've been very willing to lose work so that we win the right jobs and we win them at a profit that we're comfortable with, so that when things come up, we can absolutely take care of our customers. And we've been careful not to let ourselves grow too quickly so that we can be well prepared when we want to further scale our commercial division. So we haven't had a nightmare project yet, but I have plenty about residential if we have extra time.
Sean, Dave?
All mine are related to when other trades are involved, and I don't want to bash that too much, being on what we've talked about. It's exactly what Matt said. It's scheduling related, and I guess I just don't accept it the way I should.
Yeah, I would say so. There's been several projects that have gone south, and there's a lot of different reasons. But I think the reoccurring reason that you're in a bad project is typically because you have a bad partner, right? You're not aligned on your values, or there's something that happened along the process that you're off, right? And usually, from my experience, it blows up right towards the end of the job when it's time to get paid and they're frustrated. Maybe that's a move that they have where they're trying to get you to come down on their number. So they're going to find problems on the job. And it doesn't matter how many touch-ups you do, they're not happy and they don't want to pay. And, those are the challenging ones. And, we write those off, right? We write those off as a learning experience, and we write those off as we'll never do business with them again, right? We're going to get through it. It's never worth going to court most of the time, right? Because the amount of money and the amount of time that you take, it's just like it takes you away, the mental effort involved. So it's just like we're writing it off. They're on the do not contact list in our CRM, and we're learning from it. And we're trying to ask questions, again, in that qualifying process so that we don't get into a relationship with another crazy person.
So good.
Yep.
Yeah, I think whenever anything goes wrong on on my end. You got to solve whatever the solution, whatever the problem is, but then you have to go back and diagnose how you got there. So whether it's a lot of times I find that it's mismatched expectations. Sometimes, Dave, with you saying they're strategically maybe waiting till the end. Well, then how'd you miss the red flag? Was there maybe not enough due diligence on that person or that company because maybe they're a bad actor? But usually it's something pretty early on. And so you go back and you get better at adding them to that 70% of people that you weed out with those pre-qualifying questions to avoid that in the future. So mistakes are going to happen.
One thing to add too, I think with both Dave and Matt's story, I think it's important to emphasize that they got through the project and got the job done. Just integrity wise and protecting your name, your business's name. Especially we're all talking about the repeat business being the key one. You don't want bad reputation going around, and at least you did your side of the bargain. If they didn't uphold theirs, then shame on them, but you did yours.
That is key in the repeat business world for sure.
Yeah. Even if they're dragging you through the mud, try and keep your head up. Like if I feel like it's going south, I normally don't get really combative. I'm very matter of fact. I'm very strategic in, how to come with an outcome, even if it's looking like they're not going to be happy. I'm trying to get out with the least amount of damage and not making it ugly. Because once you get ugly, it gets personal. Once it gets personal, it's not about the money or the job anymore. It's about they want you to lose and they need to win. And then it's just like, oh my God. So I'm trying to find the fastest way to get out. Even if I take a little bit of an L, we're not making the same margin. It's okay. It's a learning experience. We don't lose, we learn, and we're moving on to the next.
Yeah, it's a good point too. The opportunity cost is something that a lot of, especially younger business owners don't really think about. What's the opportunity cost of your time? It can be the more successful you become, the higher that is. Someone asked, so Rick asked, do y'all do a subcontractor model for the paint crew?
We do primarily.
Same.
Anyone doing W-2s?
Yeah, we do a hybrid model. So we have right now it's about 25% in-house and 75% subcontractors. I'd like it to be closer to 50-50. My director of ops likes subcontractors better, providing you have the right sub. But yeah, it works for us, especially because we're seasonal like many other people. You have bigger months where you need to ramp up your manpower in the summer. In the winter, it slows down. It becomes an HR nightmare if you have to hire and fire a lot of people in a short period of time. So subs are easier for that. Subs also have some downsides, a little less control over means and methods and quality. You have to be on it. You have to have better processes and PMs to manage that work.
Yeah.
Cool. And then I want to wrap up with this. So if attendees walk away from this panel with one takeaway, so something that they can use to grow their commercial painting business or maybe successfully start their commercial painting business in 2026, what would it be?
Don't try to do it alone. Do it with the network of people that are here through the PCA, I'm not going to plug any other ones because I'll get shot by my wife, but there's plenty of options out there. People have done this before. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. Ask for advice and ask for help.
Yeah. Sean said earlier on the call, have a plan. And I love that, right? Have a plan. The best way to create a plan if you're new is hook up with a coach, hook up with somebody that has done this before, that has a track record of success, that can tee you up. I mean, yes, you're going to pay money up front, but you're going to save so much money down the road. I plugged Nolan the last time. They're the coach that we use. They're excellent. They help us create the structure, lay out the plan. We communicate it to the team. We hold them accountable. Now great things are happening, right? Because we had that clear plan. Otherwise, you're shooting shotguns, like Chris said, and it's like maybe you hit something, maybe you don't. Use a lot of resources, and you didn't get very far.
I was going to say the same thing Sean mentioned earlier, have a plan. So I'll just take it more to like vision. So a little further down the road, like I think that you need to, whether you're doing residential, commercial, new construction, like whatever your focus is, it needs to make sure that it aligns with your vision. You need to look 3 to 5 years into the future. what's the type of company I want to build. You need to have real clarity in that and real conviction to it so you can stay disciplined, reverse engineer that back to a plan. Pick your plan. Feel free to go experiment out a little bit as you find your ideal customer, but try to stay as true to that plan as possible and make sure that all your actions and behaviors align to that plan. And then I think with commercial, it's really, because we're talking about a much longer time horizon, it's really important that you find measurement and tracking for the behaviors and the action that you're looking for, and a little less on trying to measure that result, because everyone's mentioned that result is just further down the road when you do commercial.
And that teed me up. I was going to say consistency. Whatever you're doing, even if it's 3 calls a day that you're making to that ideal customer profile, that you're going to sell something if you just do 3 calls a day over the course of a year. But the minute you let up, that long time between the project cycle, it can hurt you. So just the consistent efforts, no matter how small.
Dave, Matt, Sean, Chris, I appreciate you guys. Sean, I don't care what Chris says about you. I don't believe it anymore. I think you're okay. So thanks for hopping in here. No, Sean is the only person on this channel that I haven't known for years. But Sean, you're all right, man. You're all right.
I appreciate it.
If you want to learn more about the topics we discussed in this podcast and how you can use them to grow your painting business, visit paintermarketingpros.com/podcast for free training, as well as the ability to schedule a personalized strategy session for your painting company. Again, that URL is paintermarketingpros.com/podcast.
Hey there, painting company owners. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Give us your feedback. Let us know how we did. And also, if you're interested in taking your painting business to the next level, make sure you visit the Painter Marketing Pros website at paintermarketingpros.com to learn more about our services. You can also reach out to me directly by emailing me at brandon@paintermarketingpros.com, and I can give you personalized advice on growing your painting business. Until next time, keep growing.